remain in regular contact with the FEMA response team about changes in the storm forecasts and any need for federal assistance. The White House wanted to assess the potential impact and determine any early action that the federal government could take to support communities across many states likely to be affected. Liz also proactively called governors of states in the storm's path.
Hey everyone, there's a press briefing going on right now at the White House. We're tuning in on this with C-SPAN. I want to listen to it. They're talking about the weather right now, which, is important, but we want to hear what's going on about stimulus. So hoping we can get to some question and answer here in just a second with some more answers on stimulus. So we'll listen to it here. I'll take a bunch of notes and then we can recap or we can analyze this thing as we go through it. So let's listen to this and see what we have.
This meeting is part of the President and his our administration's close and ongoing engagement with members of both parties and on Capitol Hill and on the American Rescue Package. Throughout these conversations, we've underscored the economic and health challenges that our country faces, issues he will, of course, be reiterating today, and the need to move swiftly to address them with a package that is big enough to get schools safely reopened, give financially struggling families and communities a bridge, and deliver on his promise to speed up vaccine delivery and defeat the virus. It's important to remember that the size of the package was designed with the size of the crisis, dual crises, as we've said. And I wanted to just call out a couple of economists and some economic data that we've seen over the last several days. A new report by the Brookings Institution estimates that with the American Rescue Plan, we could boost GDP by 4% and return our economy to pre-COVID levels by the end of 2021. A separate analysis by Moody's Analytics found that the president's plan would create 7.5 million jobs this year and double our economic growth and return our economy back to full employment 1 year faster. The IMF's chief economist said their preliminary analysis found that the plan could boost U.S. economic growth by 5% over 3 years. A couple of other just updates for you. Just today, the U.S. Conference of Mayors sent a letter to congressional leadership urging them to take immediate action on the American Rescue Plan. This letter was signed by over 400 mayors. I know there's a lot going on, so just wanted to highlight it for all of you. And West Virginia Governor Jim Justice, also a Republican, said in interviews today that he agrees that going big in this moment is critical. And last thing I just want to do before we get to your questions, I often note I'm going to circle back.
Q&A.
I hate to disappoint conservative Twitter, but I am going to circle back on a number of things, as we often do directly. But Hurricane Maria funds, which was a question that was asked last week, the president has made clear, the status of them, I should say, that it is a priority for his administration to release this funding. We are working to do so, so that is in process. On the White House fence, which a couple of people asked about, I believe it was on Friday, our goal, the president and the vice president's goal, is for the Secret Service to adjust the perimeter as soon as it makes sense from an overall security standpoint. So we're working closely with them on that, and they are, of course, would be in the lead on that front. And the last piece I just wanted to give a quick update on was there was a question about the White House's support for FEMA's request of troops. We, of course, support a whole of government pandemic response that is catering to the unique issues and needs of our states. FEMA's working in strong partnership with states to get a handle on their needs and accordingly have requested the significant manpower in some cases for this unprecedented pandemic response effort. I expect we'll have more on this as the days continue this week on how they will be utilized. With that, let's go. Darlene, welcome to the briefing room. Oh, I know you've been here many times before, but it's our first engagement here. Go ahead.
On the president's meeting this evening with the senators, can you give us a sense of how he views that meeting? Is it going to be negotiating? Is he going to be prepared to counter anything the Republicans might offer? Or is it just a session where, they ask to meet with the president and he's simply giving them an opportunity to voice their concerns?
Well, the president has been clear since long before he came into office that he's open to engaging with both Democrats and Republicans in Congress about their ideas. And this is an example of doing exactly that. So as we said in our statement last night, it's an exchange of ideas, an opportunity to do that. This group obviously sent a letter with some outlines, some top lines of their concerns and their priorities, and he's happy to have a conversation with them. What this meeting is not is a forum for the president to make or accept an offer. So I think that's important to convey to all of you. And his view, it remains what was stated in the statement last night, but also what he said on Friday, which is that the risk is not that it is too big. this package, the risk is that it is too small, and that remains his view, and it's one he'll certainly express today. Go ahead, Darlene.
So, what would you say is more important to the president at this point on this first legislative test? Is it going big or going bipartisan? It seems like he can't have both.
Going big,
Well, I
right?
think the president believes we can, and there is historic evidence that it is possible to take a number of paths, including through reconciliation, if that's the path that is pursued, and for the vote to be bipartisan. But it's important to him that he hears this group out on their concerns, on their ideas. He's always open to making this package stronger. And he also, as was noted in our statement last night, remains in close touch with Speaker Pelosi, with Leader Schumer, and he will continue that engagement throughout the day and in the days ahead.
You mentioned that President Biden's proposed COVID relief package is designed to be commensurate with the crises. This group of 10 Senate Republicans, what they're offering, as you know, is more than a third less. The top line number, the $600 billion, is more than a third less of the $1.9 trillion that President Biden says he
$618 billion.
wants. Given that, do you see that as a serious attempt at compromise on their part?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to give more comment on their proposal. I think they put their ideas forward. That's how the president sees it. He felt it was, an effort to engage on a bipartisan basis, and that's why he invited them to the White House today. But his view is that the size of the package needs to be commensurate with the crises we're facing, the dual crises we're facing. Hence, why he proposed a package that's $1.9 trillion.
Does the president plan to invite Democrats into the Oval to have these similar conversations?
Well, I can promise you we're less than 2 weeks in. There will be many Democrats in the Oval Office, and I'm sure this is just part of our ongoing effort to engage directly.
Well, asking that again in a slightly different way, there are Democrats who see that the first meeting the president is having face-to-face with lawmakers is with Republicans and not Democrats. I guess why is the White House doing that?
Are there any specific Democrats you want to call out?
No, but it's been talked about. There's concern that
Just people talking about it in hallways? Okay.
Sure.
Well, I can assure you that Speaker Pelosi and Senator and Leader Schumer, they have been in very close touch with the president directly and members of the senior team. He has been in touch, but also members of our senior team have been in touch with Democrats across the political spectrum, and that will continue. And there will be definitely Democrats who will be part of conversations here at the White House.
Well, as on that, you said in your statement that the scale of what must be done is large. Let's bottom line it. Is $618 billion considered large by the White House?
Well, I think our statement last night made clear that the president believes that the risk is not going too small, but going not big enough, and that his view is that the size of the package needs to be commensurate with the crises we're facing. That's why he proposed $1.9 trillion. There's obviously a big gap between $600 billion and $1.9 trillion. I don't think any of us are mathematicians, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But we can all state that clearly, and so clearly he thinks the package size needs to be closer to what he proposed than smaller.
And in that statement, you called out $1,400 relief checks, a substantial investment in fighting COVID and reopening schools, aid to small businesses and hurting families. A lot of that isn't in the Republican proposal. So why have this meeting at all if they're not even going to take seriously what he is proposing?
Well, again, Ed, this is an opportunity to exchange ideas, to have a conversation. That's why he invited them over here to the White House. He outlined the specifics of what he would like to see in the package in his speech, his primetime speech just a few weeks ago. And there are some realities as we look to what the American people are going through right now. 1 in 7 American families don't have enough food to eat, right? We're not going to have enough funding to reopen schools. We don't have enough money to ensure that, we can get the vaccine in the arms of Americans. So there are some real impacts, which he will certainly reiterate as he has publicly and privately in many conversations. But they put forward some ideas. He's happy to hear from them. But he's also feels strongly about the need to make sure the size of the package meets this moment and feels the American people expect that of their elected officials as well.
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
Sure.
The statement the president just put out, among other things, it says the United States is taking note of those who stand with the people of Burma in this difficult hour. Is that perhaps a message to China?
I think it's a message to all countries in the region and countries
All right, they're talking about China for a second, so let's jump in here while they do that. Well, before we get another question on the stimulus package, but yeah, as you notice, there are a lot of questions on the stimulus package, right? So we have that proposal out of the Republicans, that 10 group senator of Republicans, that group of 10 Republican senators. I said that backwards, but anyway, you get what I'm saying. So they proposed the $618 billion package. In there they have the $1,000 stimulus checks, as we previously discussed earlier. So there's a lot of controversy here, and she said it a couple times. Reporters have been asking, are they going to consider the 618? And she said, well, Biden's been saying the risk is not about going too big, but rather the risk is going too small. That's a nice way of saying, yeah, not a chance. They're not taking the $618 billion package. There's no way. I mean, she said it twice here, and that's her nice way of saying that, yeah, not happening. He needs something more closer to the $1.9 trillion that he proposed. So let's jump in here and see what they're talking about. They were talking about China, so.
That the Republicans can still vote for the bill, obviously,
Okay.
even if it's done through
Talking about it again.
reconciliation. But some Republican sources say that's not really bipartisanship. It doesn't satisfy that promise because it's not true compromise.
Well, I think that the 1 in 7 American families who can't put food on the table and the teachers who are waiting to ensure their schools have the ventilation, the PPE, the testing they need, they will tell you that they expect their members to meet this moment. And we saw this as a good faith proposal they put forward, good faith effort to have a discussion. The president's inviting them here in good faith, and we will see where it goes from here.
And what's the president's message to senators like Portman and Capito, who will be here today, who have seemed to warn that if you can't get unity on this issue, it's going to be much harder to achieve down the road on other issues?
The president is confident that issues like reopening schools, getting shots in the arms of Americans, ensuring people have enough food to eat are not just Democratic issues. He takes his former Republican colleagues at their word, of course, that they're committed to these issues too. And that's why he wants to have the conversation. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. I want to ask you about GameStop. Some lawmakers have proposed legislative reforms like restrictions on short selling and
All right, so they're talking about the stock market now. So yeah, again, we had more questions on the relief package, asking, about the proposal from the Republicans. Basically, she said, in good faith, Biden is inviting them to the White House. Once again, that's her really nice way of saying he's inviting them there to talk about it because he said he would listen, but realistically, it's just a waste of everybody's time. I mean, that's just her really nice way of saying it. So, yeah, they're going to be meeting tonight at the White House to discuss this with Biden, all of these senators that have proposed this. But again, okay, that's cool, but he's not gonna think twice about it. There's just no way. And she's being as nice as she can to answer the questions, and she's doing a pretty good job.
Levels every day with a range of offices on a number of issues. But I don't have anything more.
This is why we listen to these, because a lot of the times when they come out to offer these press briefings like this, they have an agenda. They want to talk about one thing, but then reporters come in and start talking about everything else, talking about the stimulus packages and checks and all this other stuff. So that's why we listen to this, because a lot of times we're getting insights into what they're thinking there in the White House and Congress and everything else that everybody's thinking.
And fair and efficient markets. That's where we think.
Still talking about the stock market again. So anyway, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Again, the budget reconciliation option is still not off the table. It is still there, live and well, still kicking, and it is an option as of now if they want to take that to move forward with the $1.9 trillion package. We'll have to see. And who knows? Maybe, hang on a second.
It's incredibly urgent. And as you
They're
noted,
talking about it again.
There is, there are timelines coming up, I should say, in terms of when
Unemployment.
the Americans who are applying for unemployment insurance will no longer be able to get access. As I noted earlier, 1 in 7 American families can't put food on the table. We need to plan for how we're going to get more vaccines in the arms of Americans. We need to have funding to help public schools have the preparations needed to reopen. So there is urgency. This is what the president is spending his time on, as evidenced by the meeting later today, and what the majority of our senior team is focused on at this moment. But there is still time to make changes, to continue to have a discussion, and that's why we're kind of escalating the number of meetings and engagements we're having through the course of this week.
On Burma, if I can, on the president's statement that he put out, he says the reversal of progress will necessitate an immediate review.
Yeah, so again, she basically just keeps repeating herself, saying essentially the same thing. We've heard it like at least 3 times now about 1 in 7 families not having enough food to put on the table. She wants to get kids back to school, all of that. So essentially they keep asking the same questions, just worded differently, and she responds with essentially the same answer. So we've been hearing that. We'll listen a little bit longer. Typically these things don't last all that long, but you usually want to listen to it simply because you just never know what could possibly come up, and if she accidentally says something that that maybe gives us a little bit more of a glimpse into what they're thinking.
Repeal the $10,000 cap on state and local tax deductions in the COVID bill. Does the president support those insertions, and more broadly, does he support a general repeal of that deduction?
They're talking about tax deductions
the president
now.
supports Democrats and Republicans putting good ideas forward and having a discussion about them and determining how we move forward with urgency to get this plan passed. But I'm not going to negotiate from here.
Yep.
Senator Manchin was a little upset with some comments the vice president made on the local television show. Has the White House reached out to him in any way to kind of clear the air?
We've been in touch with Senator Manchin, as we have been for many weeks, and will continue to be moving forward. And not only is he a key partner to the president and to the White House on
They'll probably
this
just
package,
take another
but on
question or
his
two.
agenda,
I'm guessing they're
we will
not going to go
remain
much
in
longer.
close touch with him.
And last question from Burma. In regards to Myanmar, what if any efforts are being made to coordinate a response with allies such as Japan, EU, and Britain? And has there been any contacts with China to discuss the situation?
All right, so they're talking about China again. So I feel like the majority of the questions that they're going to ask regarding the stimulus have probably already been covered. Like I said, they've asked essentially the same questions multiple times, and she continues to give the same essentially canned answer. So I'll continue listening to this. I'll let you go. I don't want to make it too long. I want to do everything I can to be respectful of your time as well. But typically those stimulus-related questions come out right at the beginning, as we noticed right there. So I'll keep an eye on this, and I will keep you posted with any new updates. I hope this helps you out. Hopefully they actually do something here quickly and actually have some action. We know that these people are incredibly slow-moving, right? Congress is slow-moving. They're like molasses, right? Cold molasses, slow moving. But anyway, I'll continue listening to this. I'll keep you posted with any new details. We'll have to see what comes out of that meeting. Who knows what comes out of the meeting with Biden and those 10 Republican senators and their plan? Honestly, it's probably not going to be much. But who knows? You never know. I'll keep you posted. Thanks, everybody. I'll catch you in the next video. Stay safe out there, and just remember, I'm always here for you. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you soon.